Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member Peters, for this hearing. Welcome, Mr. Vogt, and welcome to your family as well. In 2018, President Trump signed into law the SUPPORT Act, a comprehensive bipartisan package to help address the opioid crisis in this country. The SUPPORT Act expanded resources for the state, law enforcement officials, and first responders who are on the front lines of this opioid crisis by, for example, helping provide overdose reversal medication to states and localities. Unfortunately, Elon Musk killed a recent bipartisan agreement to authorize the SUPPORT Act for the next 5 years. And you've previously supported rescinding funds for fully funded programs that require further authorization. Congress, meanwhile, has appropriated funds for next year for the SUPPORT Act services. If confirmed, will you commit to distributing funds appropriated by Congress for SUPPORT Act programs?
Senator, thanks for the question. As you know, the president, the opioids epidemic is a huge priority for the president. We'll be taking a look at all of the funds that are necessary to combat that epidemic. I can't speak to it beyond that because we haven't begun that process. But you can certainly be assured that this was something that you heard about in the first term with regard to the president's interest in this area, and I can imagine it will continue to be that.
Well, let me just be clear here because I'm following up on a point that Senator Peters made. We've appropriated the money. We had a bipartisan agreement to reauthorize the program. So I am disappointed that you won't make a clear commitment here today to ensure that the life-saving program signed into law by President Trump will continue to receive funds that have been provided by Congress. And I urge you to rethink your position as your nomination is considered by the Senate. Government shutdowns put public safety and our national security at risk. But you have repeatedly, Mr. Vogt, called for brinksmanship around government shutdowns and opposed bipartisan deals to keep the government open. In 2011, for example, you wrote in an article that Republicans simply must be prepared to shut the government down. That's a quote. Simply must be prepared to shut the government down, close quote. And, quote, need to dig deep and embrace the sort of brinksmanship that shows they are playing to win, close quote. If confirmed, you'd play a role in negotiations to prevent a government shutdown later this spring. Why have you repeatedly advocated the use of the threat of a government shutdown as a political bargaining chip? If confirmed, would you continue to favor a partisan agenda over keeping the government open?
Senator, I don't think I have been a person that has wanted to have government shutdowns. I've had to be the one that kept the government open consistent with the law for the longest shutdown in history. I know the impact that it has on the federal government, and I want to be a part of a process that sends budgets as soon as they can, meeting all the statutory deadlines, to be able to start the process with the appropriators as early as possible so that on a bipartisan basis, recognizing that appropriations bills have to have bipartisan support, and to get that done as soon as possible so that you don't have the kind of pileups at the end of the fiscal year that we have seen. And I think the breakdown of the budget process here in Congress is something that has not been good, and I hope that it is brought back to a good degree and that we can have a bipartisan spending process of which I look forward to participating in if confirmed.
Well, unfortunately, this is a situation where there seems to be kind of a confirmation conversion because your words in articles and in talks reflect a different view about the use of government shutdowns. And I will note that the impact of government shutdowns is not just an impact on the federal government, it impacts the American people in significant ways. So this isn't about people in government offices, this is about them and the people they serve in the United States. And that's the reality, and that's why it's so important that government, efficient, effective, right-sized government, continues to stay open. I'd like to ask you about the non-political role that OMB plays in distributing grant funding and ask for your commitment to fulfill this role in a nonpartisan way. In December, President Biden signed the Grant Transparency Act into law, a bipartisan bill that I worked on with Senator Cornyn to require agencies to provide greater transparency regarding how grant applications are evaluated. The law is intended to provide grant applicants with a clear picture of how their applications will be reviewed so that the grant-making process is fair and competitive. So, yes or no, if confirmed, do you commit to ensuring that agencies do not evaluate a grant application with the applicant's political identity or views in mind?
Certainly look forward to looking at that law. Those are the types of transparency laws that we have supported before, and many of these new requirements, new transparency initiatives are things that in my first opportunity to do this job, we made a concerted effort to get it done, to actually move forward and not let this be something that we just say, hey, we don't have the resources to do, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
Well, I appreciate that, but the question was yes or no. If confirmed, do you commit to ensuring that agencies do not evaluate a grant application with the applicant's political identity or views in mind?
If it's the law of the land, absolutely. We have no business in trying to engage in understanding someone's political views.
If confirmed, do you commit to ensuring that agencies do not evaluate a grant application submitted by a state based on that state's political makeup, whether it is red, blue, or purple?
Again, Senator, the extent to which we make decisions are going to be based on the policy grounds, the agenda of the President of the United States. We will continue to do that.
So if the President says to you, I don't care what the law says, I don't like California, and I'm not going to give them the disaster aid they need, you're going to stand up to the President and say, sir, that's not appropriate.
Senator, I don't engage in hypotheticals, but the President would never ask me to do something along those lines.
Well, history speaks a little bit differently to that point. And if confirmed, would you direct agencies to withhold grant funding from eligible grant applications that hold different political identities or views from President-elect Trump?
Again, we make decisions at OMB based on the policy grounds, the laws that are in place, and we do not look at people's political inclinations.
And even if you somehow found out about people's political inclinations, you would not allow that to influence your decision-making at OMB?
Correct.
Thank you.